Hello YouTube, what is up? NYKia31 here. Hope everyone is well out there in YouTube land. Bringing you my most recent Operation Sports Vets, OS Vets, Madden 12 online franchise user versus user game. I have the strangest pattern in Madden online leagues. I always start out slow. I always start out something like 0-3, 1-4, 2-5, and then I go on a mad second half of the season dash every single time, and I make the playoffs. Weirdest thing ever. And it's so deep into my head that I almost expect to start out slow. And I have all of these weird, close, down to the last drive type of games every single time. But, you know, anyway, this is a good game. It had a lot of ups and downs, backs and forths, and hope you guys enjoy it while you listen to me yap. I wanted to take a little time out to respond to some questions that I received, and particularly a question that one of my subscribers and video watchers sent me via private message. Hope he doesn't mind if I read it, but I've gotten several of the similar type of questions, so I figured I'd answer it in one video and give you guys a little bit of insight as to, who I am and why I view these games the way I view them. So anyway, this particular individual wrote me, "So I was watching your Tampa 2 videos again and was struck by how you complimented the EA game for their realism. I was wondering how you haven't fallen into everything EA is bad. Also, how do you look at the cheesers? I hate that word because it is so hard to define, and once you start down that road, you can justify everything as cheese. But how do you view it when you face a Maryland Eye or a drop and bomb player or someone who just repeatedly abused the tight end? It just struck me, and you seem to have a really balanced viewpoint, so I just wanted to pick your brain a little." End of quote. Well, the best way I could answer that is to give you guys a little bit of background as to me and who I am. I come from a family of athletes. I've been, an athletic person pretty much my whole life. My father was a basketball player. My godfather, my father's best friend, he played in the NBA. He had a cup of coffee in the NBA. Nothing to be ashamed of. If you're good enough to make it in the NBA and stick around for a couple of years, that's a whole lot better than many people can say, And my uncle was a world-class cyclist. He competed in a lot of international competitions, but as fate would have it, he broke his leg in a Olympic year, and that cost him the opportunity to represent, his country in the Olympics, and, his career was pretty much over shortly after that injury. And other people, littered throughout my family who have competed in sports, and some of them, at a high level, either internationally, in Olympic sports, or, professionally, what have you. And I myself, I grew up playing baseball, football, basketball. I ran track, and I was blessed enough to be good enough to compete in college. So when I look at video games, sports video games, I look at it from a slightly different perspective, meaning that while I do enjoy playing sports games, I don't get very anal about them or nitpicky about them. And the reason why I am like that, and just, am into mostly first and foremost having fun, and also replicating certain kinds of play styles that I've seen and learned and been a fan of throughout the years, is because I've done my real life. In real life. I've done it in my world. So, if the video game just represents an escape for me, it's just a way to have some fun, enjoy myself for an hour after a long day of work and working out, and to just blow off some steam, and also when I'm in my, online leagues, to compete a little bit, That competitor in you, if you're an athlete or a guy who's competed in sports at any level, it never really truly dies. You just kind of redirect it towards another, venue. And, sports games are a great avenue for that for me. It's very fun. Now, that doesn't mean I like games like NFL Fever, NBA Jam, or MLB The Bigs. No, I don't like that genre. I like playing, these games that, represent the NFL, MLB, NBA, or whatnot. But I'm able to accept the fact that it's a video game. It's artificial. So you're going to have in a video game suspensions of reality. There's a reason why they call it artificial intelligence. It's not real. It's artificial. Programmers try to, as best they can, program these computer characters to behave and think as best they can as a human, but at the end of the day, it's code, and the characters are only going to be able to react based on what the code, allows them to. So I don't really get very nitpicky when it comes to critiquing these things, because like I said, I've done the real thing, and I guess because I've done the real thing, I can go into a video game environment and accept the fact that, hey, it's a video game. Stuff's gonna happen. I find that there are some critique video commentators who I do know have actually played sports at an organized, competitive level at some point in their lives, but in my observation, a lot of these guys are video game jocks. They see something that they see on TV, and then when they don't see it in a video game, they somehow think that they're an authority of what the sport should be like. And, if there are times when I come across as opinionated in my commentary or in my comments, it's because, one, I do know that I know what I'm talking about, and two, I've done it. So I'll be damned if I'm going to let some guy, who's never done it before, lecture me on what simulation is. I'm just not gonna let them monopolize the conversation. I'm going to speak my mind and let the facts that I know speak for themselves. So, that's why I can just take a game for what it is. That's why I can play an EA football game and recognize the good that's in it. That's why I can play a 2K football game and recognize, the good that's in that. I don't care. They're games. I don't have a loyalty to 2K, EA, or any video game company. EA has never hurt my family. I have no animosity towards them. They're a video game developer, and they happen to make games that I enjoy playing, so be it. And if they do make a game that I don't enjoy playing, I won't play it. Simple as that. I went 2.5, pretty much near 3 full years without playing an EA football game. I was playing APF 2K8 instead, because I had more fun playing that game despite its, abundance of flaws and how broken in many areas that game is. It was still, a fun game with a fun community despite its warts. But when I felt that the game was no longer worth the time, and the warts became too much to bear, especially when compared with how much I was enjoying Madden 11, NCAA 11, Madden 12, NCAA 12, I just simply moved on. That's pretty much it. So that's why I don't have this, EA is the root of all evil attitude. Now, as far as cheesers go, no one likes them, no one enjoys playing them, but, people do cheese. And there's different degrees of cheese. And I do agree with what the guy who sent me the message said when he said that too often people justify something that they have a hard time stopping as cheese. There are plays in football, both in real life and in a video game environment, that are tricky to stop. But there's nothing in this game that you can't stop within reason with, using your head and using the adjustments that the game allows you to make. Scrambling QB, spy. If you notice in my videos, I usually, when I'm facing a scrambler or a guy who likes to, roam around, I usually assign an athletic defensive, lineman to spy him and force him to stay in that pocket. Just a simple adjustment, and more often than not, that keeps them honest. Or if they're giving me some problems in an area that I feel my defender should be able to handle, I'll take matters off into my own hands and control the area of the field that's being attacked and my defenders aren't quite responding to. Like a perfect example of this game here, I was getting roasted here in the first half, but I made a couple of adjustments here, and it's a game again. Too many people are okay with being mediocre and blame their shortcomings on the game, saying the game's AI doesn't adapt, the game isn't balanced between offense or defense, I don't have enough ability to make adjustments, this, that, and the other. But if you take the time and put the work into it, you can find ways to combat pretty much, anything that someone's going to throw at you, I feel. Granted, there are master glitchers, master cheesers, you're always going to have that, and there's some cheese that you're just flat out not going to be able to stop, and, that's not exclusive to EA games. It happens in all sports games. You have guys that are just good at that kind of thing. So, when you face one of those guys, it's not a fun experience. All you can basically do is hope you catch them in a mistake, force a mistake, and at the same time execute yourself. But I try very hard just to stay balanced and to just allow games to play out. Like earlier in the first half, I had Kyle Wilson get roasted in press coverage by Darius Hayward-Bay. Now Kyle Wilson has a 90 press coverage rating. A critiquer or a complainer will say, Kyle Wilson shouldn't get beat by Darius Hayward-Bay in press coverage, the ratings don't matter, blah blah blah. My attitude is, that's the first time in 3 games of this, league season that's happened to him. I'll take those odds. He's a 90 press coverage rating. If I roll him out there in press coverage consistently, he's going to hold up more often than not. If he gets beat 1 game out of 3, okay, that's going to happen. That's football. That's sports. Move on to the next play. So I just try to keep a cool head, and I think a lot of people will find that their game would get better if they do that as well. Just move on to the next play, adjust what's happening, learn how to use your players' strengths as best you can, and just trust the plays that you call and trust your players. If you consistently, put your players in the best possible position based on what they can do well, just trust them, and, over the long run, they'll, perform for you. So that's how I feel about that. Hope that gives you guys a little bit of insight as to, how I, view these games and why, and also answers to the person's questions. So that's pretty much it for me for now. Hope you guys enjoyed. Take care. Peace.